Hey there, and welcome to another Dave Does video. And today's quite a different video to what I normally do. I normally do lots of reactions and so forth like that. But I thought, as a musician, I would do something that I haven't seen anyone do on YouTube before. So there are lots of videos out there that talk about studio for $300, studio for under $200, studios for £150, etc., etc., etc. And when I've watched these videos, they always talk about certain things. The video includes usually an audio interface. It maybe has a microphone in there, headphones, and maybe some studio monitors. And sometimes you have maybe even some soundproofing, and it may talk a little bit about what DAW or digital audio workstation that you might want to use. But there's a few assumptions they make. So the assumption they make is that one, you've got instruments. Two, that you've got some form of computer that you can use. And three, that you have money to buy these other things as well. So like the workstation, they've kind of made an assumption that you can afford to. That's a separate cost. So I wanted to see if I could do something different. I want to challenge myself. I've put myself in the mindset of someone who has been given a guitar by your parents. So this might be a teenager, been given a guitar by your parents, maybe a little practice amp, given a guitar, and you want to record. But you don't just want to record guitar. You want to record drums and bass and piano, and you want a microphone. You want to do a full band. So can you do that for under £200? But you haven't got a laptop. You haven't got a computer. So we're going to have to get a computer as well. So we need a computer, a drum kit, a bass guitar, an audio station, headphones, microphone, keyboard, computer. Yeah, I think that's everything. And we're going to try and do this all for under £200. Yeah, this should be interesting. Let's see how we get on. Okay, so I had a quick look around on eBay, and the first thing I came up with, I kind of filtered it all by kind of price point, etc. And we came up with this Dell Optiplex 745. The reason I kind of picked this one out is it's got an 80 gig hard drive, which should be fine to initially get set up. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is the minimum I'd need for doing any sort of processing. But it also came in with a monitor. It's got the hard case, it's got mouse mats, it's even got speakers, so it kind of had everything I need. It was available for collection, which was fairly local. It was like a 45 minutes to an hour drive for me, so that would work. We then got an extra hard drive, so a 500 gig hard drive, which just giving me some extra storage space for £10 made sense. Got a graphics card, again, because this had integrated graphics on the Dell Optiplex. I thought the best thing to do would be to get a cheap graphics card. Bid the guy down on this one, so yeah, it was around £15 for the actual graphics card. We needed an audio interface. I do have one, but I don't have to keep dismantling it from my other system. So this is a Tascam US 122 for, again, around £20. And again, makes sense. I've actually used it before. It was one of the first interfaces I ever used. It's small, it's portable, even if the PC isn't. So 20 quid. It had a buy it now price of 30, but I was able to get that one down for 20. The Audio-Tech headphones I needed something that was closed ear, so we didn't get any audio bleed. Again, 20 quid. That was just the first one I found. MIDI keyboard, I found a few different ones. This is more of a reference point, but we got this MIDI keyboard here, which is very basic, but I've got another one anyway. At £20, you can find multiple different units, but this was just as a reference. I've already got one, so I didn't need to buy it, but there we go. We have a condenser mic kit, which will give us options for recording acoustics, but also vocals. Has pop shields, everything we need in there. $24.99. It ain't gonna be great, but it will do the job that we need for this initial process. I got very lucky on this drum kit because someone actually put this on Facebook when I was looking at it, and they had a buy it now price literally on there of only 20 quid for it, and it has a MIDI output on it and would give us the pads we need to record. And now I already own a MIDI drum kit, so I'm not going to buy it, but again, as a reference point, there are things like this available. if you're so inclined. And with those pads, it would give you enough things on a drum kit to actually be able to record and use drum replacement, etc. Bass guitar, had to prove it was possible, so found this. It was on the cheapest bass guitar they had on eBay, 35 quid. I submitted a bid on it and I won it. Okay, so I've shown you some of the things that I've decided to purchase. You've seen those on the previous thing. So this is me unboxing each of the items. So the first thing we've got is the PC. So I budgeted for me to go and collect it, which I could have done, but for ease, I did actually get it shipped. But in the budget, I've done it as though I went and collected it because it would have been an hour round trip, and I've been busy, so I decided just to pay the shipping. But for factor, as I said, for the budgeting of this video, we're doing it as though I collected it. This is how it was sent. It's not a microwave, as the box says. I'm going to unbox it because I really have no idea. This is how it was sent. Oh, Jesus. Whew. Okay. It weighs a lot, so this has got everything that was in it. Now, this particular PC, part of this, I mean, I used to have a Dell Dimension. So back in the early 2000s, Dell Dimension was the first computer I really had. Now, I believe this computer has an E6 300 processor, which is not fast. So hence why we are going to upgrade the processor. But I'm going to have a look at what is in here. This is an Optiplex 7450. Funnily enough, most of the stuff that's in here, I think I've actually had. So we have... Wow. It's packed, to be honest, the guys have packed it reasonably well. There's a few bits of styrofoam in it. We have a Dell, not wireless, but wired keyboard. I'm actually fairly remembrant of these. This is going to be interesting, using a wired keyboard again after all this time. Anything else? We have a Dell mouse. Oh, lovely optical mouse. Very grubby. Going to give that a good old clean before I do anything else. Oh yeah, throw that over there. What else? Okay, so we have Dell monitors. Now, weirdly enough, the monitors I currently still use are Dell monitors. Mainly because I can't bother to upgrade anything, but I am very used to these screens. I've got two of them already that I use for general monitoring work. It will be fine, needs a good old clean, but they should, as long as they're working, do the job. Now, the computer that's been given is... apparently is Windows, but is expired. We've got power cables, Ethernet cables, VGA adapters. We have... oh yeah, I remember this old bad boy. There we go. So we have a... actually, this is a really good bassy low end. Now, when you're doing mixing, you don't really want to have lots of bass. We're going to make sure this is nice and set to neutral. But yes, this was the very first speaker setup I used to have. So it has the big bass, sub bass, and you've got a couple of these little speakers. Remember, this was all for 35 quid. So we've got two speakers. So I have a nice little setup for that. Oh, jeez. Oh, God, my room is not designed for this. We've got a really not very nice mouse mat. I'm not sure I'm going to use that or not, but I appreciate the fact they've given it anyway. And then finally we have that boy himself. This is the protection they gave me. Bit of bubble wrap. And this is the Dell Optiplex 745, which is what we're going to use as our recording station. It's upside down. Oh gee, this thing weighs an absolute freaking ton. Right, there we go. Dell Optiplex 745 with CD drive. It's got a floppy. It's got a floppy. How cool is that? We're going to do a breakdown, and this is all going to be rear to eye. I'm going to show you the rear of it anyway, because I'm not going to get a chance to do it when we actually break it down. I can't believe how heavy this is. Wow, what's going on there? Really no idea what's going on with that. It's all falling apart. So we have... I don't even remember what half this stuff is. We've got rear extensions. That's for printers. A printer I/O. Bloody hell. USB maybe 2, possibly 1.1. And audio and Ethernet. That's about all we're getting out of here. Now, my room is not designed for this. Right, let me just put that on here. So, what we're going to do next going to show you a little bit of what's inside, if I can. I'll get this past door, please. Can you go? Bugger off, ski. Yes. Right. So let's have a quick look. Wow, this is all just like completely coming apart. Now a lot of these used to have old door catches on them, and I'm wondering if any of this does. Wow, that is grubby. Oh dear God. I'll get the camera. Okay. Okay, so this is the inside of this PC. Look at that. So, yeah, all that dust. Dust. So before I do anything, apart from getting a tetanus shot, I am going to sort this all out and get this all cleaned out. So we've got a 350 watt power supply, which, considering what we're going to be running, ain't a lot. We've got a passive cooler. I can't see any fans on this, but it's all kind of, yeah, it just looks like a big old heat sink in there. Looks interesting. Onboard Intel graphics chip. I'm going to have to get some canned air and blast the crap out of it. I might have to take it outside because this is so disgusting. These are the bits that have fallen out the back. Yeah, so we'll get this a clean and then we will do some benchmarking on it, and then we've got some other bits in here. So I know that there's a hard drive in here, which I was told was a SSD, but that looks like a standard hard drive. And we're also going to upgrade. We're going to put another hard drive in here, something about bit bigger. I think there's a 250 in here. We're going to put another 500 gigabytes hard drive in this, just to make sure we've got a bit more extra storage for audio. And yeah, we're going to get this all cleaned out first, and hopefully once that's done, I've just got to show you that again. It's just, look how disgusting that is. That is vile. I could have at least cleaned it, guys, before you send it to me. eBay seller. But hey, right, it's 35 quid for all of this, so it's a good starting point. So yeah, let's go check out some of the other things that we've got for this packaging. Okay, so we have given it a bit of a clean out. I am in the process of attempting to boot up. As you see, it's a bit of a mess because I'm just lining it slightly down. Look at the size of this chunkiness. It's huge. I'm lining it this way just because I'm going to do upgrades to it, etc. But we've got the big old woofer. We've got these connected up, these little speakers. My old little setup's hiding in the background there somewhere. And hopefully this will boot up. So it could be a while yet. We'll wait and see, and I'll see once we get the screen updated, and we'll go from there. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. It was basically doing a Windows 10 setup. And I'm still waiting for it to sort it out. No, stop. Just let me get into the frame. No tips. Just let me get in. I just want you to be finished. My God, when did Windows 10 setup become so bloody different? I thought there was like an old setting on here, but I was going to put Windows 10 on here anyway, so I guess it should hopefully, it's going to speed up my job a bit later, but we'll hopefully, once we get into the actual system, we'll get something installed. I've got to set internet up on it, and then we can go from there. But bear with me while we sort this out. Getting everything ready for you. Yeah, old school. Okay, so we now finally have a Windows 10 setup, which is actually quite cool, although I've just double clicked on Microsoft Edge and I'm just getting this lovely, come on, you can do it, there you go. It actually picked up a spare wireless driver, although I could have just put it into my connection down below, but I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'll use a wireless for ease. I'm not going to sign in, no, I just want to get online. So now the plan is I'm going to put some things like Specky on here, Keep it very minimal. I'm not going to put loads of software on it because we are literally just want to use this for a recording machine. So we don't want to have, we're not going to do lots of antivirus on it. We're not going to be flooding it with software that's going to cause a slowdown. We need to make it as streamlined as possible. So we're going to just use the built-in stuff. We're just going to update all the drivers, make sure we got it as good as possible, get some benchmarks and see what I got for my £35. Okay, let's have a look at the PC. There we go. So we're gonna let's try benchmarking. Now I tried to install OBS. Let's have a quick look. Now when it did it, I tried it yesterday. It really didn't like it. Now because I wanted to use this for screen capture, but the computer was just not having any of it. It didn't meet the requirements. There we go. Failed to initialize video, your GPU may not be supported, which is not surprising because it's built in onboard graphics. So we've got that. Let's find out a little bit about what's in this PC. Now I thought it was a Pentium E6 300, but I've noticed it says Pentium D on there. So let's have a look what we actually have. Sorry for this reflection. We've got a bit of noise on the microphone as well. So we have a Pentium D 945, the Pressless 65NN technology. We've got the maximum 8GB of RAM that you can have on a computer of this motherboard. Doesn't tell me much about the motherboard. We'll go into that one there. We've got Delph's E151 monitor. That's the standard maximum refresh rate. In a lot, and then the onboard graphics of the Q965. It's got a 74GB of hard drive, yeah, amazing, and a optical drive and high definition audio. Let's have a quick look if we've got any more information. Motherboard, chipset model Q965. Okay, it's a Dell motherboard. But I think it's a 775 because it's a 775 chip, socket 775, okay. 3.4 gigahertz, core, 2 cores, 2 threads, oh yeah. Bus speed 199.5 megahertz, awesome. Okay, so yeah, pretty slow. But that's what we've got. Now, quick question. I mean, RAM wise, we've got 4 sticks of 2. 2 gigs, a total of 8, so that's all useful. Let's see if we can run a benchmark. I actually quite like the keyboard. Weirdly, it's actually quite a comfortable keyboard to use. Which I haven't used a wired keyboard in a while, but let's see if we can get Nova Bench running. It may not. Come on, I've clicked it. Now, resource-wise, we've got up here like the RAM is 29. It's so weird filming this with a camera because I can't get on board. I'm going to try Nova Bench to start with. What I reckon is also down here, the clock time. I had reset that, but when I turned it off last night, because this is a day since I started doing this, start test. When I started doing this, it didn't update the clock the next day. So I think the internal battery may be much screwed, so that needs sorting out. So I'll get a battery for that at some point when I do the upgrades. I think the next bit is to put a graphics card in here to give us a bit of a, if we put a 2 gig of memory graphics, that should help. Stop putting all the strain on the PC. Then we've also got an additional new CPU that we're going to try, which should be faster. So I need to find out a bit of information about the actual CPU to just do a benchmark. But I don't think I could even find any real benchmark scores for this CPU. It does make me think this is very similar to the one I had back in 2004 when I had a Dell Dimensions 6000. Let's run its RAM test. I think the graphics test is where it's going to crash. Because if it couldn't even open OBS with no graphics there, then hear how noisy this is. It's the boot time that kills me, but that's again because it's hard drive. Now I could go and put SSD in, but that's going to completely blow the budget of this video. So we're going to put in a 500 gigabyte additional storage drive. We'll just leave the 80 gigabyte one in there as our Will it get a 3D graphics test? Will it work? Come on. Can you do it, computer? Can you run a 3D graphics test? I have updated all the drivers on the system. Everything was up to date. It's trying. See that the bottom is trying to bring up the 3D graphics. Oh, God, it is going into a graphics test. Will it get there? What are we reckoning? If it gets in there, what are we reckoning? Like 3 frames per second? It's trying. It is really trying. The reason I like the Nova Bench graphics test is because it's not as intensive on your resources for it, and so it's kind of useful for lower end systems. I'll be able to compare benchmarks on what I currently use for doing recording, which again isn't a high end system in any means. It's just one I've graded over time. Oh, we've got it. Microsoft 4 GB virtual RAM, which is the onboard. It's using the virtual RAM from the actual system. We've got no movement on the screen, just slotted there, 52 frames a second apparently, which considering it hasn't actually moved. Oh, there we go, 27 frames. But it actually ran, and there we go, it crashed on me. I was surprised it even got as far as it did. Okay, so we've got no official rankings on there, so I think the next thing to do is to throw in a new graphics card. Okay, so apologies for a bit of background noise because the PC that we bought is quite a noisy PC. But that is okay. We can work with that. We'll do some work on trying to sort out the fans, but generally it's all hard drive noise, I think, at the moment. But again, we'll look at see what we can do. But of course, we've just tried the benchmarks, and it didn't go great, did it? So we've now got this little bad boy, which I haven't even opened yet. I might unbox it. Camera. So we thought, well, the computer came with onboard graphics, and we're gonna throw a £15 graphics card in. We've got a little folded up note there, look at that, which is probably just a delivery destination from Mr. Brian. Yes, thank you very much. It's again the old dusty old graphics card that's been sitting around all full of gunk and horrible stuff. But it is an Asus HD6670 with 2 GB of RAM. Most importantly, it's got VGA out, which is what we wanted. It's got its cooling fan on. It really needs a good clean. As does all this hardware. So that is what we're going to now throw into the computer to get some benchmarking done and see how we get on with that. Okay, so here we go. We're back to the screenshot now. I got OBS. Once I installed the graphics card, OBS was able to do screen capture, but only realised once we got to the editing point that the screen capture is pretty fuzzy. But we do have some information here. So we're still running with the existing 80 gig hard drive in there. We haven't put any other extra drives in, but we do have a 2 GB worth of memory card, or graphics card is now installed. We're still on the Pentium D. We did try doing a different chip in there, but that didn't really do anything for us. So what we're now going to have to try and do is get ourselves set up. It's weird to think that it's 2 GB of graphics card. Yeah, would have been a huge amount. Nowadays, the graphic cards are massive, but 2 GB. I mean, the fact you can get the same card with, what was it, 256 megabytes. I mean, that's just nothing. But we have our 2 GB anyway. We've got our screen resolution set at our maximum. You can see OBS is there installed, which is obviously what we're using. And we're going to run basically Nova Bench again. Its system as itself at this point in time was running okay, but it was kind of throttling quite badly as far as CPU usage. The CPU was sitting there around a sort of 100%, and as you can see, like, it was just taking a bit of a time to load up the actual screen. So it's taking its time. Yeah, this happens. Any second now, Nova Bench is going to open. There we go. So we have had, at this point in time, we'd have not had any successful bench runs because we had no graphics card. The onboard would not allow it to happen. So we're now going to try and do one with a full run. And as I said, we did actually have a... I actually think that maybe because we had OBS recording screen capture, that would have slowed the benchmark down slightly, but as we were doing this for every run that we were going to do, I don't think it made that much of a difference. It was just to give us kind of a rough idea of how much of a impact, I guess, of how much we can kind of benchmark our overall system at. We did have a extra CPU because when I thought it was originally just, I didn't realize it was a Pentium D. I thought there was an opportunity to upgrade the system with a CPU, which I won't show after this, but after I did this red benchmark run, I did swap out the CPU, and actually we got some interesting results. It did give me a warning saying that actually the CPU is not compatible, but then it allowed it to boot up and it allowed it to run, which I thought was really interesting. And we did a whole load of benchmarking. It gave me some really good benchmarking results. And then when I rebooted the system, the CPU didn't want to work. So I had to return that, but it was only, I think it was like £3 from CD Exchange place here in the UK, plus shipping, so it cost me a £5 for this CPU. So again, I'm just sending that back, or dropping it back into my local CD Exchange place for a refund on that one. But we're getting there with this. So it's doing the read-write test. Now this is still right into the standard 80 gig hard drive that came with it, which was a Seagate drive, I believe it was. Read-write tests, and I do know this is something that it wasn't brilliant at, but again, this is also partially down to the pathways from the motherboard. It's not necessarily all just down to the hard drive itself. It's what the processor can handle, etc. So yeah, twiddle our thumbs a little bit now. Here it goes. It's the graphic test is quite interesting from this point. You can just see it's like stuttering around trying to get to the graphic test. And I had updated the drivers. It installed okay, actually. It didn't actually ask for any driver updates. The system picked it out because it's probably had it already built in within the Windows 10. It knew it. So there we go. We get that lovely screen. Frames per second was pretty low on this. I think we were getting somewhere like 7 frames per second. It's a shame we couldn't do audio capture at the time when I actually filmed this. But yeah, you can see you're not going to be playing any games much on here. I mean, we're getting some frame movement on it. You're definitely not going to be playing Grand Theft Auto or any Legends of the Tomb Raider or anything else on here. But our frames per second was pretty abysmal. Like, I think we got down to about 3 or 4 frames per second, which is just crazy. And we got a score which was kind of in the benchmark of what I thought it was going to be, around sort of 4 to 434, I think it is, but it's going to come up on the screen any second now. Give us our test bench result. So it's a 3.39 gigahertz Pentium D. 434 is the result for here. So we're going to do a couple of changes on here. So the CPU, which I would have hoped would have been better, is there's not really much I can upgrade. It's a 945 Pentium D. The maximum we can go up to is a 950. There's no real benefit in me doing that. The GPU 131. So I think the only thing we can really do here is increase the hard drive because the disk score is pretty bad. So putting an SSD in here would actually help. And swapping some equipment around. So there's a couple of options that I might have there. Because you can pick up an SSD for like 10 quid, etc. So that would probably be the best option to swap out if I get a smaller hard drive, like a 100 gig hard drive, and use the 80. Okay, so it's about halfway through day 2 of the build. So I got it yesterday, started the setup. We did some benchmarking on it. And then I've got the new CPU, or the replacement CPU, that we're going to put in and benchmark it. Hopefully it should be about 3 times faster. I took the cooler out. You can see how dusty it is in there. Look at that. Lovely. That's just grim. Now, I didn't even have to pry the thermal off because this whole unit just came out. Just literally pulled out, and look at how disgusting that is. Literally, the thermal compound has nothing. It was no wonder it wasn't doing well, considering this was just kind of stuck on it. It wasn't actually bonded in any way. So now I'm going to clean this all up. Clean up the cooler, give it a bit of an air blast through here, and then put a brand new CPU in, and we'll do some benchmarking on it. Okay, so we've installed a new processor, which was the Intel Core 2 Quad Q6600, 2.4 gigahertz, which is pretty much what I think I used to have on one of my old PCs. There we go, it's on the screen. Interestingly, when I installed it on the computer and I plugged it in and turned the computer on, it said that the processor wasn't supported. I pressed F1 and it basically is just booted in fine. You can clearly see on the screen that it is showing there, the Intel Quad 2 core. So it's all in there fine. The boot time has generally been pretty good. So I'm already seeing a decent speed up. We're going to now run some benchmark, which I will bring up now. I think when I was planning this video, I never thought it would take so long to do anything, but we're getting there now. So let's have a look. Nova Bench is hopefully loading. And then after this, the next part is got to be to install the relevant software and the audio interface. There we go. So the last one we did was 434. Let's see if we've got anything now. I haven't done any additional updates or checked for any more driver updates or anything like that, so there might be a bit of tweaking. Oh, we did put an extra 500 gigabyte hard drive on there, but as it is not the main write drive, it's purely a storage drive, that shouldn't make a massive difference to what is going on here. But let's have a see. Have a drink. Have a drink. Alcohol-free beer. I mean, this is not a quick PC in any shape or form, but I have to be honest, it's not as slow as it was when I first got it, which is great. I also think the fact that the thermal paste and the heatsink weren't really connected. I mean, it was so brittle under there. Once I've cleaned it off and put some new goop on it, it seems to be better, and it was so full of so much dust in there. So just some general maintenance on it has actually probably helped it as well. If the score comes out lower than 434, I'm just going to go and cry in a corner somewhere. Interesting though, there on the Nova one, it's still picking it up as the old processor. That's interesting, considering the processor has updated. But it hasn't updated anything on the test bench. Hopefully when we get the final results it will have updated. Maybe it was just a bit of a delay. Still got the issue with the battery on the system, so the battery is still, I haven't changed that one out yet. I've got to do that, so at least the clock is up to date when recording. But in the be all and end all of trying to get this system up and running, it's not the end of the world. Right, let's have a look. Graphics tests. Now, will the CPU do anything with the graphics card? Interesting, there was no specific graphics card drivers for this. It was just all generic. The test as a whole seems to be running relatively quickly. Not as quick as like it would on a decent system, but for considering this system is round about 16 years old. Interesting. So we're getting some. Last time we were getting 7 and 8 frames per second. We're now up into the 20 frames per second. So that's good. We've definitely got an improvement on overall frame rate with this new CPU. And this CPU cost £3 plus postage and packaging at £195. So it was £5 exactly to upgrade this system. Okay, it's computing the final test. 434 is what we need to beat, and let's see how we did. 698, okay, I will take that. Interestingly, so the GPU score has gone up, so 4268, still thinks it's the old one. So we've gained 120 on the GPU, and we've gained on the CPU and the GPU, so both have gained on there. This store's gained a bit, and the RAM's okay on it. So we haven't done a massive amount, but enough to make it interesting. So yeah, so we've got a bit more work to do. Let's see if we might be able to tweak this a little bit more in some settings in the BIOS, do some more updates on it, and then yeah, we'll be ready to start doing some software. Yay! Okay, so after I did that last benchmarking and we got the that new quad core processor running, and I was really happy. I rebooted the system to get ready to do software installations, and it would not install. Um, it just would not boot up. I tried a few different things, tried some BIOS settings. It just wouldn't do. Looked into it and found out obviously this processor should never have been put in with that board, so it just wasn't compatible. So what I had to do was swap out the CPU, and you can actually see there was a CPU. There was a benchmark score of 698. So we've done a 200 points improvement on the previous one with that CPU, but I had to put the Pentium D back in, and so I just wanted to run a further benchmark just with the old CPU but with the new hard drives in to give us a good idea. And this is basically what we've got. So we're just going to go straight to the end result of the benchmark and yeah, go and see what we actually had happen. Okay, so this is the results from the third run, which was 529. So even with the new hard drive, the disk score was slightly improved, the GPU had settled down, RAM had been pretty much the same all the way through. It was very odd that on the first score, so the first score we got 14, the second score we got 21, even though it was the same hard drive, but we had an improvement up to 40 in the final round when we put the new hard drive in. We've improved that slightly more. That was based on going through a standard hard drive, but we've improved it with an SSD. So I think we're basically there or thereabouts as far as how far we can take the system, and we're ready to install the software that we need to get some recording done. Okay, so it's about day 5, I think, of the build. I've had some time in between bits and bobs, so it's been a few days since I've done anything on this project, but it's enough time for the remaining items to turn up. So we now have the microphone and stand, so that's all there ready to go. We've got the headphones, we picked up the bass. So we have a Benson bass. This cost me £35 on eBay. So 4 strings. So we're limited to 4 string. So I don't think we're going to be doing much 7 string low tuning. And then the last thing we've got, which I haven't even had a chance to open yet, is the audio interface. So it may not even be what I think it is, but let's have a look. It arrived the other day. I've been holding off opening it, so I had last. Oh, we got a thank you box. How nice. What's in it? So let's take down 1, 2. Oh, it's pink. Sure, that's kind of interesting. And there we go. So here we go. It's a bit grubby, but hey ho. It's a Tascam US 122. This is actually the first interface I ever used. No cable provided, but we will work around that. And I'll have to sort out the speakers because my current speaker configuration that we've got here doesn't work that way. So we're going to have to get some adapters. So yeah, we're almost ready now. So I'd installed SoundBridge on the computer. I really didn't find it very user-friendly, so I've now installed Cakewalk. I haven't used Cakewalk before, so that's what I'm going to be learning over the next couple of days, just making sure I understand it. And then we're going to attempt to record a song. Now, I may do a cover, or I may just do something a little bit original just to avoid copyright claims, but we're going to record a track and see how it comes out using this £200 studio. Let's see how we get on. I seek and I find in you. Every day for us something new. My mind for a dip. And nothing else matters. Never care for what they do. I never care for what they know. When I know so close, no matter how far. I couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are. And nothing else matters. I never care for what they do. I never care for what they know. But I know. I never open myself this way. I like the size, feeling that way. All these words I know just say. And nothing else matters. The trust I seek and I find in you. And everything was something new. Mine. And nothing else matters. I never care for what they say. I never care for games they play. I never care for what they do. I never care for what they do. And I know, yeah. So close, no matter how far. Much more from the forever trusting. Yeah, nothing else matters. Okay, so there you have it. The question was could you build a studio for under £200 and record something? Well, the simple fact is, yes, you can, and you could do it yourself if you have the patience. This track came out okay. I'm sure I thought Cakewalk's great. It was great fun to play with. There was times that I wanted to go and hit my head against the wall, but I think the more I practice with it and the more I learn with it, it will be easier and easier and easier. And considering I'm using basically everything that's just plugged into that, I'm not doing anything special outside the box, I think it came out pretty good. Now, I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think this was an interesting video? What else would you like me to see me attempt on this £200 studio? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, of course, for watching, and that, of course, is how Dave does it.